And welcome back to Home Track Heroes here from Evergreen Speedway as we are getting ready to bring to you our 30-lap main event for the Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure Eights. And some pretty cool points battles coming up, but with the lineup, here's Tom.
Starting on the pole in the doubles 07 car will be Jim Powers outside of Jim. In the 55 will be Jessica Wilkinson. She's sponsored by Her Wallet. The 11 cars in row 2 with Keith Cook. Outside of Mr. Cook will be the 36 of Bill Fleischacker. Inside of row 3 in the 67, it's Ricky the Kid Dietz substituting for someone in his family. And outside of him in the 51 is Ryan Clark, sponsored by Miracle in Memories Academy. Rounding out the field in the 32 car, it's Steve Cox. Outside of Steve, it's the 17 of Quentin Borson, Mrs. Turner's Hometown Cafe. And rounding out the field in the Hager Motorsports car, it's the 0 of Jillian Lapato.
And she is brought to you by Hager Motorsports. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Elite. At RE/MAX Elite in Snohomish with Team GAM. Buying or selling a home, call Lynette GAM and ask about the Homes for Heroes program at RE/MAX Elite. And I got to tell you, Lynette Graham, just one of the cool people that we've gotten to know over the years there out at Evergreen Speedway. Here's where we're at before we get the green flag. We get a second here, we'll talk to you about the points battles. Quentin Borson came into this race with an 8-point lead over Steve Cox, 263 for Q and 255 for Mr. Excitement Steve Cox. And Mackenzie Dietz in the third spot coming into tonight, but we know that Mackenzie's out of the car, and a good shot right there in the center of your screen with her brother Ricky Dietz in the 67 tonight. Mackenzie in at 225. So 30 laps is going to decide this for the Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure Eights. They have just been a blast to watch so far this year. It's been a lot of fun. And this race, I think, is going to kind of prove out to be the same way. As we're in car now with Quentin Borson.
You know, as we said, Ricky's in the car because of a family member being out. Can you imagine what it must be to keep Mackenzie Dietz out of a race car?
Yeah, no kidding.
Huh? I mean,
Yeah.
they probably have her hog-tied to the trailer because she still wants to get in if she's not, in the hospital or anything. But it's good to see Ricky in her car. But for her to give up that third place in points, that's a rough thing to have happen to you. As you mentioned, it's Quentin Borson, our points leader.
Yeah.
Steve, tell me what's going on there between the next couple of people.
Well, you've got, like I said, Mackenzie Dietz in that third spot. My first thought when you were talking about how tough it must be for her to get out of there, I can only imagine what it's going to be like for Ricky when he comes back into the pits and have Mackenzie. Well, if you would have come into this corner that way and you would have done this that way, it would have been a whole different outcome. And Ricky, Ricky up just smiling, nod his head as he should, but still looking good to say he is alongside Steve Cox in the battle for fourth spot as we are just getting started on our 30-lap feature for the Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure Eights. But good-looking field of cars. Good to see Bill Fleischacker coming back out. Good to see Jillian Lapato in this thing. She's been in virtually every figure eight race we've had on TV this year. And so you got to admire the spunk with her. Quentin Borson now up in that second spot as Jessica Wilkinson is hanging in there tough in that number 55 machine down on the inside as they come around turn 4 and across the finish line. And a little bit of an edge there for Jessica, but boy, not much. Quentin giving her.
Oh, look at Quentin trying to have to cut through. Oh, no. Jessica kind of used up a little bit of racetrack. Very smart veteran move right there as they came off the north turn. She just moved Quentin over a little bit out of the racetrack, and when Quentin got down to the south end of the racetrack, it was either hit the tire or cut inside.
All right, let's go inside with the kid, Ricky Dietz, as he is working the wheel. As he is coming out, it looked like turn number 2 down through the intersection and into the left-hander in turns 3 and 4, getting knocked around a little bit. And he and Steve Cox are still going at it. And oh, look at that. As a little bit of a spin there between the 67 car of Ricky Dietz, and we got some other action going on. As Ryan Clark in the 51 is stuck down there in the front stretch. So we'll take a minute, get our cleanup crew out there to see if there's any damage, anything needs to be picked up. And as always, a huge thank you to all our friends at the Cascade Push Trucks and our EMT crew, our track cleanup crew, the officials, and I know, we say this every week, but it's so important to make sure that these guys get recognized because they're the guys that, and this is the cliche saying, if they're not here, we are
That's
not
right.
either. So
right.
we got to make sure and keep them happy. And we'll get you going back underway here as we get a restart here for our Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure 8, second to the last race of the year. I hate saying that. It just bugs me no end. We'll have them back out on championship night here in a couple weeks, so we'll get it.
Steve,
going
are
right
you
now.
shocked that Quentin's out front in that
Not at
number
all.
1 spot?
Not at all.
That cat just does it each and every week. He is just outstanding in these figure 8 cars. Steve Cox right behind him. Mr. Excitement. You know that these two are going to put on a good show because neither one of them is going to dirty the other one, but they're going to take them right to the edge.
I think what's kind of cool to look at here is we see Cox going to come working up on the outside of Quentin as they come out of turn number 2. But man, I tell you, since I've been involved in this place since 1998, I have called so many races in the figure 8 division. All we've talked about was Quentin Borison, Steve Cox, and Ricky Dietz. And those 3 names just absolutely synonymous with figure 8 racing here for decades at Evergreen Speedway. Quentin Borison still hanging tough there as he's going to have the preferred line going into turn number 3 and does it quite nicely. Gets a little bit of an advantage. Cox almost kind of went around a little bit and kind of helped shove Quentin through the intersection, but we'll see how he does now as they are in turn number 1 and coming out of 2.
You know, the thing about figure 8 racing, you work really hard, you get on the inside of a guy, you can't complete the pass. You get down to the other end of the racetrack, you go from the inside to the outside, and everything you work for goes out the window, So it is kind of frustrating, but that's why they work so hard at what they do. And as they come through the intersections, I've said each and every week, if you don't look and you forget one time, that's the one time somebody's going to blast you right in the door.
There's a good shot of the 11 of Keith Cook, right, coming across the start-finish line in that gray and black number 11 car. And I think it's kind of cool to think about, too, as we've got a car stalled on the front stretch. It's the 55 of Jessica Wilkinson, so we'll get that thing cleaned up as we bring out the caution. You see John Peterson up in turn number 1, Steve Dunn working the south end of the racetrack. But and again, thanks to Monroe Grocery Outlet right here in Monroe. They've been behind this group for a long time as well, and hopefully don't see any chance of that changing in the upcoming seasons, but still great battle with with Steve Cox and Quentin Borison. It's getting about the halfway point too.
Well, figure 8 racing is unique to a small number of racetracks. Very fortunate that the figure 8 cars have had a home here at Evergreen Speedway forever, but you just don't go to every racetrack in this country and see figure 8s. They think we're just a little bit goofy out here, and I think those guys in that figure 8 cars, they are, but guess what? It's Quentin Borison out front, followed by Mr. Excitement Steve Cox, Ricky Dietz, Keith Cook. Bill Fleischacker just sits out there and kind of, you don't see him a lot, don't hear a lot about him, but when it comes time to cash the checks, he's always there.
Yes, Bill Fleischacker's been just a fun guy to get to watch over the years out here as well. Quentin Borison with a great restart, and we've noted this several times throughout the season. The figure 8 group starts their races differently than any other class out here, where the leader is out front in the center, and then they line up 2 by 2 right behind him. So he's going to have the advantage going across the line, and it really helped him out as he is still hanging in there. But boy, Cox is not letting him go. This might be the one shot where, Steve's thinking, man, I'm only going to have one chance to pass this guy. Got to make it right. Got to plan it out. Got to work it. Got to make him think I'm going to go somewhere and then go the opposite direction. As kind of get an idea how Steve Cox does it inside the car.
Well, notice how he keeps that left hand constantly on the wheel, but most of it is done with that left hand, and then he moves that right hand around a little bit. But each and every one, now he's gone to a right hand and leaving that left hand off, but he'd be more comfortable with just one hand. But I was just thinking, and I'm going to call somebody out right now. Doug Delfell skipped the first part of the year, showed up 2 weeks ago, wins the main event, and takes another week off. I guess he's going to just say, hey, look, I won my last race.
Done all I
Don't
need
push
to do.
it.
Done all I need to do. But it's so cool to see him get that win a couple weeks ago. But we've seen a lot of these two guys over the season as well, and over the years. Steve Cox in the 32 Quentin Borison. As they come across the line, they'll have 10 to go and decide this thing as the top two now have broken away. Ricky the Kid Deeds still no. Well, what happened here, Quentin? As Quentin gets at the number 17 car, Dre Brandenburg owns that thing. That's what makes those two such a great pair.
I think Quentin was pulling up at the drive-through window at Mrs. Turner's hometown cafe, looking for a little snack right there, but it didn't look like there was contact between him and Steve Cox, but Quentin might have just a little different version of that story.
He might, but that is gonna affect the points race at the end of this, providing, of course, that Steve Cox still can finish these things out. You know, we've seen this happen 1,000 times where a guy just gets cruising and all of a sudden, poof, and his day is done. But we won't wish that on anybody. We've done it enough this season, myself, Tom included. But still looking good. That'll move Ricky Dietz up into spot number 2 as it's getting a little bit tight at the intersection. And Steve Cox will bring it out now. 7 to go this time.
You know that if Borison gets back up there and there's a restart, and if he thinks that Cox had anything to do with him going around, he'll probably just lay that bumper on him very nicely and shove him out of the way. He's not going to wreck him.
No.
He's just going to move him.
Nope. And there is kind of an unwritten rule in this. It's, you know, if you need to kind of get around the guy, you've done everything possible you can. But I don't think that was the case here. I think they just, if they did get together, I mean, obviously something happened. Quentin doesn't go around on his own like that. Didn't have a flat tire, otherwise it wouldn't be going as well as he is right now.
Through the intersection.
Yeah, it gets really, really touchy in there. So we'll keep an eye on it. There's Quentin trying to work on the outside of Fleischacker in the 36. Now, Quentin might have something up with that car, too, after that. Or it might have happened beforehand, and that may be why Steve just kind of tapped him a little bit. Who knows? I mean, they do, and they'll be cool after it's all said and done.
As we talked about, Quentin Borison came in with just an 8-point lead over Steve Cox, so things could shake up pretty significantly with this. As you see, you know, Cox out front, and the multi-time champion buried back there in the 7th spot, or 6th spot, I think that is. Excuse me, 7th.
This could be Quentin's one of DNFs, and everyone goes through them over the years too. But if this continues this way, with Quentin still in that spot number 6, this could be one of his worst finishes. But he'll climb out of that car, smile on the mush as it always is, in a great mood. And 2 more to go. Steve Cox in the number 32 car, followed by Ricky Dietz. Keith Cook having a great run this afternoon in the 11. Ryan Clark having one of his better runs of the year in that 51 car in the 4th spot as well. There goes Quentin, still working on. Yeah, see, I'm not quite convinced that there isn't something up. White flag out now. Steve Cox, 1 more to go.
You never know. He may have a tire that's got a slow leak in it. He could have a little bit of a motor issue, or any number of things.
Or he's hungry.
Could be going. Mrs. Turner's hometown cafe.
That's right. That's how it's done. All right, there it is. Checkered flag is out. Number 32 in victory lane one more time. We will bring him up. Brandy Chavez will be down at our Angel of the Winds Winners platform, and we'll get him up to visit with Brandy here in just a few minutes. Monroe Grocery Outlet Super Stock Figure 8 winners.
All right, Super Stock Figure 8 driver Keith Cook to the podium for the first time this season. How's that got to feel?
Feels great. You know, I didn't expect to be up here, especially tonight out of all nights. The car really wasn't handling good. It was a handful. And running with Dietz and Cox and Quentin and all those guys, they've been doing this almost as long as I've been alive. So just glad to be up here, and this is what I've always wanted. So really happy.
Who do you need to thank for bringing the 11 car into the track today?
I'd like to thank Kyton Jones. He's been pitting for me today and helping me out with the car. Masters of Crete Concrete with Steve Lundquist for sponsoring me. Trafton General Store for sponsoring me. Mom and Dad at home. So that's about it.
All right, Super Stock Figure 8 driver Ricky Dietz in Mackenzie Dietz 67 car. How'd that come about?
Oh, well, she had some surgery on her throat, and she's not doing so well with it. And it's real hard to drive these things feeling great, let alone, you know, all messed up. She's on some pain pills or something like that, too. So she asked me to drive the car. I built the car a long time ago with my dad, so I guess if I messed it up, I could fix it. So I was a good choice.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's the conversation in the pits going to be with that big old dent you're going to return with?
Sorry, I love you. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'll fix it. It's not that big of a dent. I've done worse. Yeah. So.
And who do you want to thank tonight?
Wellness Solutions. They're on every single one of my family members' car. There's 2 girls and a Leaf. What are they? CBD. I got to thank her sponsor that I know of, BECU, because they're pretty big for her. And I don't know who else. Of course, you do a lot for a lot of people out here. And of course, Evergreen Speedway, Doug Hobbs and his family for doing this with no grandstands. I'm sure it's not easy for him, and I'm thankful that he puts up with all his racers.
All right, Ricky Dietz comes home in second place tonight. All right, Super Stock Figure 8 driver number 32 to the podium in first place, Steve Cox. How was that race out there for you tonight?
That car is on fire. Tommy found something about 3 weeks ago that was bent and it finally broke, and that, I think that was our saving grace. He's like, dude, it's broken. Put it in there. Now the car's so good everywhere. It doesn't matter where it goes. It's fast. So thank Tommy Gap for that. Once again, John Bender for towing me out here tonight, and wish the fans were here. And this one's for you.
And a little redemption from last week, and I've been told that you have just moved into first place in points. How's that feel?
Yeah, I've been here before. It's not, I'll be honest, I'm here for fun. Let the chips fall where they may. Doesn't really matter to me. That's just icing on the cake, right? So once again, we lost Malcolm Lindbergh a couple weeks ago, and I haven't been up here to say my deep, sincere apologies to his whole family. I miss him, miss all his antics and everything else. So we'll move on, but it's going to be tough.
All right, Mr. Excitement comes home in first place tonight.